I'm sitting in my computer getting ready to do this next video, and it's going to focus on the door. So I thought I would start with a quick, this is a drawing that's on the screen of my computer here of the door mechanism. And I thought it might be good just to go through theory of how the door works. If you're looking at the door, this is this is the rear of the vehicle. This is toward the front of the vehicle. And we're looking at the outside of the door. And the way this door works is when it's closed and you pull the handle, on this rod, it's a round rod and the handle fits over that with a pin. When you rotate the handle, this hinge up here, there's a mechanism tied to this. This hinge will rotate and pull the door in toward the vehicle so that you can begin to slide the door up into the fender. So you've got this mechanism that runs up to this hinge system up front, and on this hinge is connected to these pins that hook into some rails. So you got the rail that bolts into the lower part, and here's the upper rail. So you pull the handle, door kind of goes in toward, and then you can slide it along. And then whenever you shut the door, there's a striker plate. So this is a striker plate that's on the vehicle body. And then there's a pin here inside this mechanism that when you pull the handle, it moves this down, it locks on this little notch, and it kind of like loads the system. And it's spring loaded here and it's pulled in toward the vehicle. Well, when you slide the door back and it hits this striker plate, it'll kick this out and the spring will pull the hinge mechanism here and rotate it the other way to push the door back out so that the door has a nice, fit along the door line to the front fender. So as I go through these next sequence of videos related to the door, I just wanted you to get a feel for the theory behind how the door works. And then you've got, key parts are the kicker plate, the spring that loads the front hinge system, and you got these pins that run in the rail. There's three. There's a fixed one toward the rear of the vehicle, and then there's a lower one that slides in and out, and then the top one also slides in and out whenever that hinge rotates. Okay, I went to the body shop, and unfortunately they lost one of these door roller pins, and I was under the impression that these had like a nylon piece in there, but they don't. It looks like potentially there's some metal sandwiched in there that could be like a zinc or something that's a little bit softer than steel or aluminum, but it's not that much softer. I mean, I was scratching on that pretty hard with a small screwdriver there, and I'm thinking I'm going to duplicate that with a bolt. And I found a bolt that is about 15-20 thousandths bigger, so I can take my time and grind that down. And then the thickness here is a little bit more than the head of that bolt, so I'm going to weld a washer on there to get the extra thickness to match up close to this thickness. And then this is just a 1/4 inch hole down here, so once I get this part of the bolt made, then I'll make sure the distance from that groove down to the center of that hole is the same in this bolt and cut it off, and I think it'll work just fine then. New piece made, and I've just stuck the drill bit in there just so we can get a feel, but the key thing is the distance from that hole to these slots here. So I feel like we got it pretty close. I just used that bolt and kept shaping it until I got it really close to to this guy, so I think we've got a good door pin now. There's a piece just like this. This goes on the other door. Sets in here. And there's a piece like this. Fits through this slot. Goes up and hooks on a pin underneath it here. Sorry about the angle. You can see, maybe you can see it, but this black rod comes on a pin right down there and hangs on there. Okay, we got one door done now. Got a vice grip on there just to keep that from falling down. But basically when the door hits the striker plate, when you're closing it, it'll jam in there, and then it pops these up and adjusts the distance on that. So you can kind of see that move a little bit. Okay, on this door we'll do sequence a little better. We can put this top piece in, bolt from the inside, and then we've got these two threaded brackets that hold this piece in place, and then you put the bar in right there, connect it on the top. It comes up at an angle and then flat back over to this piece over here. Now we'll start getting these pieces ready. And then on this end there's a pin in here that catches with that, so now we've got the rotating mechanism. So that way when you shut the door, it pops out. So on this side now, we got three pieces. You got the piece from the rod coming over to here, and we want this to be lined up. The big round piece comes through the hole. On the other side, this is where your door handle is going to connect to. It's got a pin that goes in there. So we'll rotate this up. There'll be a bushing and a pin that holds this in place, but we've got to make a sandwich. And basically the sandwich is this piece. This goes toward the outside of the car. This has to thread through and lock on that pin right there. So we'll get things set up here so you can see that. Sandwich, and then this piece will go on top of all that. So the sandwich part is that slot right there is where that has to, that piece that goes on the pin has to slide up through that area, lock on that pin. Okay, we've got that piece hooked, and then we also need to get the kicker pin just kind of lined up in that space. And we'll put a vice grip on here to keep that from falling through, because we don't have, I gotta find the bushing and pin that stays there. And then on the other end of the kicker assembly, we've got to put this piece in there, and that kicker end comes out on this so it can catch on this. So we've got to line that up also before we get everything super tight. So I think for right now I'm going to pull this up and get the first couple screws aligned there. I'm adjusting these door gaps, and these hinges here are slotted where this thing's mounted. And basically, if you loosen these and you know, for me, I had too much gap between this and the outer fender. So I wanted to move this assembly that direction. So I loosen these and basically push the fiberglass this way and move this stuff up. And that'll kick this out. And in the opposite, I was a little tight at the top, so I brought this one down just a little bit to pull the fiberglass, the door, toward the inside of the car. So now we'll see what we got. I've got the top frame mounted, bottom frame slides here with it. And this is just me experimenting with how to get the door in there. Slide this as far as I can up in there. I've got the door latched to pull this front pin in. Let me turn it there. Back. Okay, now I'm gonna use a wrench and activate the door latch. Move this in a little bit. I can see I don't quite have enough clearance at the bottom right now. So I definitely got the bottom kicked out. The top is not too bad. I want to go ahead and pull back and get the super clean. Take it again. we're gonna you can see here I've got the door should be kicked in, and I don't really have enough space there. Okay, so the top was pretty good, the bottom just a little bit tight, so I'm just going to move this down just probably 1/8 of an inch or something like that, and it should be okay then. To this adjusting rod in here. There's an adjusting rod right there. See if I can get more space out here. Okay, I think we finally got the last adjustment. This is with the door handle pulled, so we've got some nice gap clearance there. And then if we slide the door back, it almost comes all the way back out, but nice flush fit. And this rail's not quite all the way in. Should end up about there. Yeah, so I think we're going to call that good. Okay, so after the passenger door side, now I'm more informed on how to do these, so I'm going to attach the top rail up here. So I'll go ahead and put that in because that can stay on. The bottom rail will leave it float for now, and we'll make some adjustments to the door and then come back.